15 years ago, I said corners are a bit overrated. But could it be that corners are a bit overrated? Okay, on hindsight, corners aren't overrated, but you've got to put things into the perspective of their times. 15 years ago, we didn't get sports cars or supercars to test in India. At the max, we would get half an hour, and that too heavily supervised. And then came Audi with their hero car. The R8 was making waves all over the world with its unique combination of performance and daily usability from, don't forget, a mid-engined supercar. This was proper exotica, and going by the nature of the times, you just look at it and be happy. Don't ask to drive it. But when we asked Audi if we could please drive it, they said sure, why not? With only two caveats. The first, not more than 100 kilometers. 100 kilometers, not kmph. And the second, don't take it on a road with potholes or speed breakers. On a vast, flat and empty road, your sense of perspective might be a little lacking. Chasing horizons and mirages might be fun, but it can also get lonely. You need company. You need very fast company. And so we found a road without any potholes or speed breakers, and I dished out a lame excuse for not finding any corners. R8 and Busa on India's fastest road is one of those hero stories that I'm most proud of during my stint as editor of Overdrive. It was a story that had never been done. A supercar flat out on what was then India's fastest road from Jodhpur to Jaisalmer with a Busa chasing it down. It became an instant sensation. And this is that very same car. It now rocks this purple wrap and it's got Telangana plates. But this is that very first R8 to come to India, which starred in the 11th anniversary issue of Overdrive. And now, mother of all coincidences, for the 11th anniversary issue of Evo India, I'm reunited with that very same car. The R8 is where my journey with Audi began. More than any other manufacturer, Audi were responsible for raising the driving standard of Indian journalists. They took us to racetracks all over the world to experience the R8 and learn how to push the R8 to its limits. Audi started the track driving experiences in India for journalists as well as for customers. Year after year, they took us for the ice driving experiences to the Arctic Circle, taught us how to drift cars, proved that Quattro can be a lot of fun. Forget the 911, forget any other Porsche or Lamborghini. It was the R8 that put sports cars on the map in India. You know what else has changed in 15 years? You now pay crazy money for a manual gearbox. The desirability for manual gearboxes, because it has become so rare, has gone through the roof. And that is what makes this car super desirable. In fact, I don't even remember the last time I drove a manual sports car. And this gated shift, oh man, what a joy. Katang, katang, so precise. Of course, the clutch is a little heavy. This is, after all, a proper performance car. But the tactile feel, oh my word, it's something else. The R8 cost 1.17 crore rupees back in 2009, which was a heck of a lot for a company that up until then hadn't made a supercar. But when they made the R8, the world stood up and they took notice. And if you thought that camera angle was bad, wait till you see this. All that power is channeled to all four wheels via Audi's Quattro four-wheel drive system, which means this car grips. Grips like, well, like Spider-Man climbing up the Empire State Building. The comments on YouTube are full of hate for that analogy. In the magazine though, with Time to Think, I said that Quattro grips like a lizard running upside down on your ceiling. Not sure which is better, but what isn't open to debate is how epic this engine is. Powering this beast is one of the greatest engines ever to roam this planet. When the R8 came to India, the V10 was already out, but India's first R8 got the V8 engine, and this is one of those all-time great engines. naturally aspirated. It revved up to 8,200 RPM, which for its time was one of the highest revving naturally aspirated engines in the world. Just listen to it. And then rev match it. Oof, oof, oof. And it's got this sports car growl, muscle. The V10 shrieks and howls, but the V8, it sounds like a muscle car. And of course, the V8 was mated to this manual transmission. So numbers: 414 bhp, 430 Newton meters, 0 to 100 in 4.4 seconds, top speed just shy of 300 kilometers per hour. Keeping with the motorsport projections and aspirations, this engine was dry-sumped like a proper race engine. And even today, I've always maintained that the V8 was always the sweet spot in the R8 range. Made it a sports car, not a supercar, but oh boy, what a sports car. A mid-engine sports car, full of meat and muscle, rev matching a sports car yourself. You can't say things like shift like a man these days, but better not say it. Don't say it. You know why Audi told us not to take the R8 15 years ago to a road with a speed breaker or potholes? Well, turns out the other R8 that had come to India went over a speed breaker, killed its water pump, and had to be shipped back to New Zealand. Don't ask me why New Zealand, but that was that for that R8. This R8 has lasted the test of time. It has obviously done media drives, it has done customer drives, it has done sports car experiences, it has been through a couple of owners, but it still is alive and kicking. And if that's not a testament to Audi build quality, reliability, the solidity, I don't know what is. I also described the R8 as a supercar that does not want to kill you. No drama, no shenanigans, just cool, clinical efficiency, which is not exactly true, especially in this spec that we are driving. You floor it and your nerve endings pop and your hairs stand on end. This is such an emotionally charged driving experience. In an alternate universe, I would have been selling Audi sports cars. Now this story, very few people know about. It was the end of 2012. I had just quit my job as the head of press and marketing at Porsche India after a very short 8-month stint. And hearing of that, the then head of Audi India called me over for lunch and offered me the position of Audi's new sports and luxury car division that they were then setting up. But there was no way that he could have known that the packers and movers were already at my apartment in Bombay, putting everything together and shipping it off to Pune. So respectfully, I had to decline. That evening, I returned my black Audi A4 company car and embarked upon a new journey that 6 months later would find me on the main straight at the BIC, putting together the launch issue of Evo India, starring the Audi R8 V10. By 2013, when we launched Evo India, Audi had the V10 R8, 5.2 liters, naturally aspirated 10-cylinder engine, revved up to 8,700 RPM, put out 512 bhp, 0 to 100 in 3.1 seconds, top speed 331 kilometers per hour. And it sounds so good. Just listen to it. Later on, Audi further ramped up the outputs of this engine, and the last of the line, the performance model, got 50 bhp more. So that's 611 bhp. The best part about the R8 was the solid build, the bulletproof reliability. This car is India's fastest R8. On the V10 engine, they've added 2 turbochargers and obviously the cooling and everything. But the engine, the internals are unchanged and it puts out 1000 bhp. You haven't heard that wrong. 1000 bhp. The transmission has been completely upgraded, so the internals of the transmission are all completely new. It gets the stage 5 rebuild for the transmission, but the engine internals are stock, and it puts out 1000 bhp. So it's got all the noise of the V10 with the push of the turbos, and that's the reason why the R8 went on to be so popular amongst the sports car community in supercar meets, drag races, club events, track days. The R8 was such a popular car. Reliable, fast, forgiving, easy to drive, and a bona fide supercar. With the R8, there was always this question of whether it was a sports car or a supercar. With the R8 V10, those questions were never asked because the V10 R8 was a bona fide supercar. 5.2 litre naturally aspirated 10-cylinder engine. It put out 511 bhp, 0 to 100 in 3.1 seconds, top speed 331 kilometers per hour, and it howled and shrieked. What an insane experience.
We'll take a look independent. I'm making my money like it's never ending. I'm talking my losses. I go with the bosses. I know what they cost, and I'm so independent.
The future may be electric, but it isn't slow or boring. Meet the Audi e-tron GT. Obviously, it's not a replacement to the R8. It is no two-door supercar. But what it does is reimagine the performance car sitting at the top of the Audi range as a GT car. 4 doors, space for the entire family, a usable boot. But at the same time, it is still low-slung and angry. It will make your passengers, and occasionally the driver, scream. Fast? You're sitting inside an intercontinental ballistic missile. This thing is ridiculous. EVs are supposed to be efficient and polite and demure and good for the world. But this thing, it has an attitude. It's a greyhound in a world full of Dachshunds. Now let me tell you the numbers. 3.3 seconds from 0 to 100. Power outputs, 598 horsepower, 830 Nm of torque, and that power figure, it can be boosted to 646 horsepower when you launch it for 2.5 seconds. But telling you is just one thing. Now let me show you the numbers. Shift into dynamic mode, put your foot on the brake, full throttle on the accelerator, and launch yourself at the horizon. My God, this thing just flies! Unreal!
Money driven, major fraud, breathless body, diamond.
This kind of performance, it just changes your perspective. It resets what you think is possible in a car. And it can do this all day long. You can go again and again, hit that 3.3 seconds again and again. The car never tires of it, and it just shows the repeatability of the performance and the reliability of this electric drivetrain. It's hot out here today, but the car, it doesn't care. It'll just launch over and over and over again until it drains its battery or until you throw up, because that acceleration really hits you in the guts. You'd be right in assuming that this thing would be an absolute drag race monster. We actually took it to a drag race and we were thrashing properly kitted out supercars. The final race, Sirish actually lost by 0.076 seconds. That's 700th of a second. And we lost that because of Sirish's poor reaction time, not the car. This thing is mental. Audi has been smart. They've kept the batteries low down in the floor. That reduces the center of gravity of this car, and what it essentially does is it reduces roll while cornering. The momentum while taking a corner is much less, and it just feels a lot tighter, a lot more nimble than a car this size usually would. Physics beats physics. The RS e-tron GT also gets air suspension as standard, and that gives it a really wide breadth of ability. Put it into comfort mode and the cushions in the air suspension, they soften up, the dampers, they slacken up, and you've got a really comfortable, corseting ride over our roads. proper GT car stuff. I promise you, whoever's in the passenger seats with you will not be complaining. But then, when you're feeling like having some fun, put it into dynamic. The suspension tightens up, the steering tightens up, the throttle gets more responsive, and it just feels a lot more aggressive, a lot more tied down, and a lot more connected to the driving experience. The S suspension also has a trick up its sleeve. Above 90 kilometers an hour, it slams down to the ground, reducing drag and making it a little more aero efficient, and also making it a little more nimble in the corners. And then it does that again at 180 kilometers an hour. It lowers itself even further to obviously get more of the same results. And that's not all. The RS e-tron GT is not done yet. It gets a rear diff as standard, and that obviously helps putting down power under slippery surfaces, and it also helps under braking, under hard braking. It ensures your rear wheels still have traction and can slow the car down better. It also gets rear wheel steer. It's a lot more useful around the city because it virtually shortens the wheelbase and makes it a lot more maneuverable. But when you're having fun, when you're driving it hard, it makes it feel a lot more nimble and a lot more stable when you throw it into corners. It just feels so connected to you. Back in the day, the original Audi Quattro, the car, made 172 horsepower, so many horsepower, and those were put through all four wheels through the original Quattro system. That was a really complicated system. It had a center diff, a front diff, a rear diff. Drive was sent from the engine to the center, then it was sent back to the front and to the rear. So it was a really complicated system, but it worked, and Quattro became history. It became legendary, and today Quattro is the very cornerstone of Audi's cars. The R8 also got Quattro, but that was a very different technology. The R8 had a viscous coupling that sent torque to the front whenever slip was detected at the rear. And now the Audi e-tron GT gets Quattro, and this is another ballpark altogether. The Audi e-tron GT pretty much reimagines Quattro. Instead of an engine producing power and then splitting it up between the axles, what it does is it has two motors, one on each axle, and torque can be metered incredibly efficiently to these axles. The system is continuously fully variable and can make adjustments at a few thousandths of a second. It's that quick. This car makes a ton of power and torque, but it can put all of that down so efficiently thanks to the super intelligent Quattro system. All-wheel drive is all about putting power and torque down into the road, converting that power into forward motion, and this Quattro system on the e-tron GT does a phenomenal job of that. It takes our understanding of all-wheel drive and just moves it to another dimension. Fun fact, the Audi RS e-tron GT and the R8 were made on the same production line. The last few R8s rolled off the line in March 2024, and up until that time, these two cars were being made by the same people on the same production line side by side. And that just goes to show the pedigree of the RS e-tron GT. Today, the e-tron GT's production is completely carbon neutral. The electricity used at the factory is carbon-free. The aluminum in the chassis is sourced from a closed loop. And for the rest of the car that can't be offset, Audi purchases carbon credits. The e-tron GT really is a green car.
And just like the R8, the RS e-tron GT has plenty of drama. It has it all. It's got this low slung design. It's got a fastback that makes it look really cool. It's got the wide single frame grille, which is so typically Audi. You've got the matrix headlamps. It really looks like a fast car, and for good reason. It is a fast car. This shape also has purpose. It has a coefficient drag of 0.24, and that's really efficient. It slices through the air really well, helping it keep its range up. And on the inside as well, it's really well done. It doesn't have excessive amounts of screen. You've got one with all the information you need in front of you and a second one for your infotainment. But this you really don't need when you're focusing on the road. The materials in here, they are what you would expect of a car of this caliber. It feels really special when you walk up to it, when you sit inside it, when you get going and you feel that performance. It feels so special. And honestly, I think that's one of the most important things about a car like this. It needs to make you feel special, and the e-tron, it really does.
And if you think this is fast, there is a level up.
I've just driven the RS e-tron GT Performance that ramps up power to 912 bhp, 0 to 100 in 2.5 seconds, 0 to 200 in 8 seconds flat. When that comes to India early next year, I'm going to take it to the drag race, drag it against the 1000 bhp R8. The EV might even be faster, and that's the perfect example of Vorsprung Dirge technique, the constant quest for performance. These two cars bookend Audi's 15-year journey in India. What are your memories of Audi in India? Let us know in the comments. And of course, if you've enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up, share this video with like-minded enthusiasts, and stay subscribed to the Evo India channel. We have plenty more beautiful feature videos coming at you on this channel.